devastation continues in Israel.
Missiles and bombing.
This leaving many more here at home fearful for their loved ones.
A few times a day I find myself in tears.
New tonight, a man shares what his mother is going through overseas. Plus, a look at how police are keeping local synagogues safe. A 17-year-old arrested in the Morgan State shooting. What led to his capture? As we learn more about a second suspect investigators are still searching for. This incident fueling the debate over juvenile justice reform. We pressed the mayor if state leaders should be taking youth violence more seriously.
Tracking rain and much cooler temperatures moving in tomorrow. I'm breaking down the impact to your weekend plans hour by hour.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
The conflict in the Middle East escalates. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Israel is embarking on a full ground and air invasion. As we come on the air, you're looking at some of the 1 million people in the northern part of the Gaza Strip told to flee for their lives.
Let's bring you some live pictures out of Gaza where the bombardment is happening as a new day dawns there. Power is totally out. Right now, the war has claimed at least 3,200 lives. It's been a week since Hamas launched a surprise attack, a deadly attack against Israel. And right now, more than 100 hostages are still being held in Gaza, including a number of Americans. Israel is vowing revenge while it works to rescue those being held hostage.
We don't want to hurt them. The camouflage of the terrorists is the civil population. Therefore, we need to separate them.
Well, for those in the Middle East and here at home, it is a scary time as this conflict unfolds.
Keith Daniels joins us live with more of the local impact here. Keith.
Well, Maxine and Kai, Israel is set to ramp up its retaliatory offensive against Hamas. Tense moments for both sides, no doubt, but tonight, a son's anxiety about his mother's safety.
It has a toll.
As the war between Israel and Hamas escalates, Ofer Sabbath is among thousands of Jewish people in the Baltimore area with thoughts of and hope for the people of Israel. For Sabbath, deep concern. His 87-year-old mother, Dahlia, is over there.
A few times a day I find myself in tears. I was an officer in the Israeli army, and I never felt like this.
Dahlia lives alone in a village north of Tel Aviv. She told her son to stay in the U.S.
Actually, right now, all over Israel, it's under threat of missiles and bombing.
Sabbath gives the latest on his mother's condition and her thoughts. He was just off the phone with her when we talked to him. He said he asked his mother, "What should he say to me?"
And she told me, "Tell him that we have no other country, we have no other home." And she started to cry.
As the war intensifies, 1 week Saturday since the horrific attack on Israel, there's a warning from Israel to Israelis and Jews around the world. Be alert, cautious of those who want to do them harm.
It's a hatred that doesn't have borders.
Baltimore City Police saying officers will be closely monitoring any potential security threats to places of worship and community organizations, with patrols deployed as needed. Police Commissioner Rich Worley at a council hearing this week about that initiative.
To heighten things around the world that are occurring, that we have to be more vigilant.
A city police officer seen today keeping watch at this synagogue on Park Heights Avenue before moving on to other locations. Sabbath talks about his congregation's security concerns as Friday evening services at his place of worship get underway. A private security team clearly visible.
It is a concern, and some people, some of our community said that they will be online on Zoom call with us for our services and will not come in because they are worried.
Sabbath's concerns here and over there for his mother.
You know, she is very brave, and she will never leave her home.
She won't leave her home, he says. Meantime, the daily phone calls to his mother will have to do for now. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Now, coming up at 10:30, we'll take a deeper dive into the work to free hostages in Gaza.
Another top story tonight, our next weather maker. You're looking at live pictures outside now as we track a cold and rainy weekend. And that means if you have any weekend plans, you'll need to factor in the weather, of course.
Indeed. So let's bring in meteorologist Jasmine Lomax for a first check of our forecast.
Unfortunately, the nice weather that we've had over the past few days is coming to an end. Now, we're still nice and dry. We're going to stay that way overnight. Looks good for the morning, but as we head into the afternoon, we'll start to notice our rain chances increasing. So the morning looks good, but then our next weather maker arrives. We've had high pressure over the region, and that's been keeping us nice and dry, but that's going to depart. And as that happens, this cold front is going to approach our region. You'll notice areas already looking at rain, and that's what's heading our way. So tonight you can expect nice and dry weather. And then tomorrow we've got our next chance for rain. At times the rain could be heavy. Temperatures will be below average with highs in the low 60s. Then tomorrow night that rain continues and it leads us into Sunday morning. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at the timing of the rain and when you can expect warmer and drier conditions in my full forecast. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. And make sure you keep the Fox 45 Weather Authority app close by this weekend. You can watch our Doppler radar, track those storms right down to your street. Head to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
The search is on for a man police say is armed and dangerous. They say this man here, 18-year-old Juvenile Williams, is one of two people who shot 5 people at Morgan State University last week. A 17-year-old has been arrested in connection with that mass shooting. We'll take a closer look at the details in that arrest coming up at 10:30. The arrest of that juvenile is reigniting calls for change to how Maryland deals with juvenile offenders. Fox 45's Jeff Abel pressed the mayor today on whether he'll push for a change in juvenile justice laws during the next legislative session.
Well, not long after the city announced an arrest in the Morgan State University shooting, the mayor was turning heads today and making some bold comments about the juvenile justice system. On a community walk through North Baltimore today, Mayor Brandon Scott was taking aim at this state's broken juvenile justice system.
We have to build a juvenile justice system that works from the ground up. Every single portion of it has to be looked at. I've been talking about that for years now, as you know.
To hear him say that infuriates me.
Kenji Scott, the former leader of a juvenile justice coalition in Maryland, says the mayor has never endorsed an overhaul of the system.
I have talked to him about that, and he was very dismissive. So to hear him say that now is definitely a slap in the face.
Every city in America, every place in America has violence.
The mayor insists Baltimore is hardly alone in the war on juvenile crime and is calling on Washington to step in.
Nowhere in America is exempt from gun violence, and until we deal with this issue as a country, cities and states will be left alone to deal with it, and that's not enough.
This is not necessarily a national phenomenon.
Ryan Coleman is president of the NAACP in Randallstown.
I need him to do all he can do to stop this violence.
We need him to focus on what's happening in Baltimore, not what's happening in Timbuktu.
But longtime activist Kenji Scott believes the mayor's plea for a new system and new aid from Washington may be too little too late.
Everyone needs to do something except Brandon. The question is, what is Brandon Scott going to do about crime? We've yet to see that.
Well, the mayor was also touting the city's 18% reduction in homicides currently, but critics point out that that is only compared to last year and not previous years. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Meantime, the suspect who was arrested in the Morgan State shooting is 17 years old. This week, the Carroll County State's attorney joined other prosecutors around the state, calling for lawmakers to change the state's juvenile justice policy.
We're seeing like a revolving door, the same juvenile offenders over and over again, coming in the door and then going back out the door to continue to engage in their nefarious activities. There's not a whole lot we can do about it because we're hamstrung by the laws that are in place.
More than a dozen state's attorneys in Maryland are calling for an overhaul of juvenile justice reform. The group represents more than 5 million people, about 87% of the state's population. The calls are also coming from some local leaders who say gun violence is getting out of hand.
It's an epidemic and a crisis that has to be addressed at every level. I am going to have conversations with the governor. He's reached out as well to bring all of us to the table. There is no excuse for violence, none. I don't care the age of the child who commits the violence. Living in a safe place is a fundamental right of every person in this community.
Parents also desperately asking for help. Fox 45 News hearing from a mother this week who says her daughter is running away repeatedly and being returned home by police with no consequences.
I feel like they should be held accountable. It's got to be some consequences. You're not going to learn if you get a smack on the hand. You're not going to learn. I mean, if nothing is done with the behavior now, and this is minor behavior, you know, I'm worried about her future. Our youth is doomed if nothing gets done with just minor behavior like running away.
It's not the first time we've talked to a worried mother in Baltimore. In September, a mother spoke with Fox 45 News saying her daughter was stealing cars but wasn't facing consequences.
They need to stop making excuses. They need to start locking these kids up. They need to change the laws. And they're teenagers. They know what they're doing. They know right from wrong. I don't know what to do. We tried everything, literally.
A Gonzales poll out this month shows that juvenile crime is a priority for many Marylanders. 59% support stricter laws for juvenile offenders. The poll shows Democrats appear to be split on the laws. 62% of black Democrats say they support stricter juvenile crime laws, while 62% of white Democrats support a more lenient approach. Pollster Patrick Gonzales says the split could be a warning sign for Democrats and Governor Wes Moore.
Did that surprise you?
It did, because whenever you see black Democrats aligning more with the Republican Party than with their own base, that's problematic.
When we have this poll showing 62% of black Democrats are aligned with stricter laws, what does that mean for the Democratic Party come January?
Well, that's going to be a challenge. Get a sense. Listen to each of your members. Listen hard. Don't go along as many times you do where everybody's corralled and everybody just kind of goes along to get along. Listen to what they're saying on the important stuff.
Fox 45 News sent questions about the poll to Governor Moore, asking if he agrees with the majority of black Democrats who want to hold juvenile offenders accountable. We also asked if the governor plans on introducing legislation to roll back juvenile justice reforms that make it difficult to prosecute young offenders. Governor Moore's office not directly answering our questions, but responding with a statement saying the Moore-Miller administration is committed to looking at all options with the state legislature to make Maryland's communities safer.
That brings us to our question of the day. Should juvenile crime be the General Assembly's #1 priority next legislative session? So far, 100% of those who voted say yes. You can make your voice heard by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, for some people, getting your car stolen in Baltimore City is just the start of a long headache.
What happens when we roll brakes like that? Like.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
We're back now with live pictures from the U.S. Capitol, where Republicans continue to struggle to unite behind a candidate for House Speaker. On their second day of secret votes this week, Republicans nominated Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan for Speaker. He originally fell to Steve Scalise, who abruptly withdrew his nomination. Congressman Jordan saying he will reunite the party.
I think I can bring our team together. That's what I've said all.
Maryland's only Republican Congressman Andy Harris backed Jordan today on the news at 4. He said he hopes the party will be able to come together to confirm him.
I think the party's going to have to make a decision if they want to get behind someone, move on. I think that their opportunity is going to come early next week. I personally hope that almost everyone in the party, all the members, decide that that's the right thing to do. And I think that's the conclusion that they're going to come to.
Republicans are holding off on voting on the House floor until their candidate has the votes to win.
New tonight, the process to ban some books from Carroll County Public Schools continues. A committee is considering whether or not to ban more than 50 books. The group decided on at least 10 so far, banning 3 from school libraries entirely. During the last school board meeting, members voted to update the school system's policy on choosing books for students. The board wants to develop a definition for sexually explicit books. Parents have been speaking out on book banning for weeks.
Children depend on us to protect them, and that means protecting their innocence. When I was young in Carroll County Public Schools, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret was not allowed in schools because it talked about menstruation. Look how far we've come. What are we doing to these kids by saying that they can handle this content? I can barely handle it.
By banning books, you restrict what Carroll County students can experience. You limit their worldview to only what is in front of them.
Well, the board will vote on the policy update next month. Fox 45 News will keep you updated on the board's decisions.
A system-wide outage across Baltimore's subway system continues tonight. That outage began last night. In the last update provided around 8 o'clock this morning, MTA says it's because of the radios used to track trains. They're not working. We caught up with some commuters this afternoon on the impact.
Because I have to get over east and I have to catch John Hopkins and get on a Brown to get home tonight. Yes, because I'm going to have to catch a bus that's 30 minutes when a train can take 10.
I'm very upset about the train not running. Half the bus drivers don't know what time the shuttle comes. They can't tell you anything. I just want to get home.
Right now, MTA is providing bus services in between subway stations. They're urging people to plan ahead.
Runners, on your marks, get set, and go. Thousands will hit the road for the Baltimore Running Festival tomorrow, but traffic will come to a screeching halt in some areas. The city says get ready for road closures as more than 13,000 people from across the country come to Baltimore to run. There's a full marathon plus many other races. This is the 22nd year for the event. You can head to foxbaltimore.com for all of the traffic disruptions and a map of the route. And it looks like our next weather maker is arriving tomorrow.
Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax is here with a quick check of the forecast and how it could impact the race.
Thanks, guys. We are certainly looking at the potential for rain, and that could have an impact on some of the races, but that would be a little later. Over the next 8 hours, we do stay nice and dry. Notice around 7 a.m., we're still looking at dry conditions. Temperatures starting off in the morning on the cool side will be in the mid-50s, and then we slowly start to rise as we head into the afternoon. But rain chances also begin to increase a little bit later in the morning. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at the timing of the rain and when we return to a drier pattern in my full forecast. Back to you.
Family, loved ones, and law enforcement from across the region gathered to say goodbye to Ryan Demby, the 23-year-old Howard County Sheriff's deputy who was shot and killed while off duty in Federal Hill.
I could not imagine, right, who would do something like this in that setting over words being exchanged. Something's gone wrong in our society.
The deputy is among a number of people who've been killed in the city.
Fox 45's Vincent Hill spoke with those who knew him best and has more on the heartbreak of how Demby died.
And let's celebrate the life of Ryan.
A celebration of life for Howard County Sheriff's Deputy Ryan Demby.
He had so many things he was getting ready to do.
But that celebration overshadowed by how Demby died.
Just in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know.
Shot and killed in Fed Hill while off duty. Police arresting 40-year-old Joel Crowder.
Celebrate the life of Ryan.
The loss, too much for John Zetta Carter, a close family friend.
You never think that him going out to celebrate on the night that the Orioles won a game, you would not think that your son is not coming home.
Demby's death, fresh off the heels of the horrific murder of tech CEO Pavel Lepere. Her accused killer, Jason Billings, at the press conference about her death, mentions of another innocent victim.
Hey, Mr. Rashid Maxwell, a 15-year-old young man, had his life taken by gunfire.
Caught in the crossfire.
Upon meeting the victim, he fires multiple shots in his direction.
And earlier this week, BPD releasing this video of a suspect in a mass shooting near the Lexington Market in May that left 5 bystanders injured. For John Zetta Carter, her message to Deputy Demby's accused killer is a message many Baltimore families share.
What you did was heinous. No reason to do that. He did not have to do that.
Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
There's new reaction tonight to a Fox 45 News investigation uncovering how the Safe Streets program spends taxpayer dollars. Fox 45 uncovered Safe Streets spent more than $5,000 in a major shoe store in April. $4,000 went to stores like GameStop, Bath & Body Works, and Walmart. Records show the agency spent $2,500 in COVID relief money to take workers to Los Angeles. They billed most of it to the city, including the hotel bar tab. However, the city won't tell Fox 45 News who's training Safe Streets workers, even though the program spent tens of thousands of dollars to unknown entities for training in February and March.
This goes right to the culture of secrecy at City Hall in Baltimore, where they redact the vendor names, the very folks that provide services. Look, you've correctly identified, you've had Safe Streets employees, violence interrupters, quote unquote, that have been indicted for federal felonies. So who's training these people? You need to know who that is.
Statement to Fox 45 News, Catholic Charity says it uses taxpayer dollars to buy items like shoes for city residents to build trust. You can find more on our investigation and the growing calls for the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement to be audited on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
The road to postseason baseball on Fox 45 is sponsored by Johns Hopkins Children's Center.
Okay, so it's not the ending the Orioles and the fan base would have hoped for, but it's the one they got. And while the team didn't accomplish the ultimate goal, it's hard not to deem this season as a success. The Birds hope that the 101 wins and first AL East title since 2014 is just the beginning. Now the offseason gets underway with some big decisions looming. Who stays and who goes, possible extensions for the organization's young stars. But Mike Elias, not ready to talk about all of that just yet.
I want to reflect on 2023. Promise everybody and the fans that we're keeping our foot on the gas pedal for keeping Baltimore baseball great and having an even better season next year, and especially in the postseason, to whatever degree we can control that. And there's a lot that goes into it, and we have an amazing farm system, and there's a lot of ways that benefits you.
We came up short of what we expected out of ourselves, but there's a lot to be proud of, and there's a lot to, the guys are going to be back. There's going to be a lot to look forward to because they're really good players.
Much more from the O's coming up tonight. While getting back to the postseason, it's never guaranteed. Talking to the players in the clubhouse after that Game 3 loss, this group really feels as though they have the pieces going forward. Maxine.
Thank you, Rocco. Well, we are your exclusive home for the 2023 World Series. The Fall Classic begins right here Friday, October 27th. You can catch all the action on Fox 45.
The search is on for a suspect police call armed and dangerous. What we know about the teenager arrested for the Morgan State shooting and the hunt for a second suspect.
Americans among the hostages being held by Hamas. I'm Atrell Nashar with the latest on the efforts to rescue them and who the White House says is providing them with critical information.
Fox 45 News is helping you get ready for our next weather maker. You're looking at live pictures outside as we track a cold and rainy weekend ahead. It's 10:30. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Maxine Stryker. Let's check in now with meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with how your weekend is shaping up. A lot of runners tuning in, I'm sure. But it sounds like if you run really fast, you might be able to miss the run tomorrow or the rain.
If you run really fast and you run pretty early, then, you know, you're just going to be dealing with those cool morning temperatures. It's a little later in the morning when we do have that chance for rain. So right now we are still dry and we're going to stay that way for the night. Temperatures across the state are mainly in the 50s. Numbers quickly starting to cool down, but notice nice and clear skies across the state. We're still dry around our area, but you can see those showers continuing to push to the east. That's all ahead of our next weather maker. That cold front will move across the state, and that's going to result in much cooler temperatures. You'll notice the big change this weekend. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at the timing of the rain and impacts to your weekend plans in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
So make sure you keep the Fox 45 Weather Authority app close by this weekend. You can use our Doppler radar to track storms to your street. Head to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
A 17-year-old teenager from D.C. arrested after 5 people were shot last week on the campus of Morgan State University. Baltimore police also announcing they're looking for an 18-year-old who they say is armed and dangerous. The arrest reigniting calls about a rise in young people involved in crime.
Alexa Ashwell has the very latest.
Sources tell me both suspects have previous run-ins with law enforcement. And according to court records, the suspect investigators are still searching for, Juvenile Williams, was charged with gun crimes in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. Happening now, the search for the second Morgan State University shooter, identified by police as 18-year-old Juvenile Williams. Investigators are now saying it was Williams and a 17-year-old who opened fire on the university's campus October 3rd, shooting 5 people, including 4 students outside Thurgood Marshall Hall. The juvenile, who isn't being named due to his age, was taken into custody by police in D.C. just yesterday, today making his first court appearance. But Williams still on the run. According to Baltimore police, detectives identified the 2 teens using surveillance video. Following the mass shooting, police detailed they believe the shooting stemmed from a dispute between 2 groups, and the victims were not the intended target, releasing this footage saying they were looking to identify 4 persons of interest. Days later, the department announcing a $9,000 reward in the case, along with a still image, and earlier this week, releasing these clearer pictures. Still, investigators releasing little further detail about the suspects. According to police sources, both suspects have previous run-ins with law enforcement. According to this court record, wanted suspect Juvenile Williams is already facing several gun-related charges after police executed a search warrant on a home in Washington, D.C. Williams, here named as one of 9 people found in the home with nearly a dozen firearms back in January. As for the suspect's believed connection to Morgan State University, university officials say there is none. In this release to the Morgan community, detailing neither are Morgan students nor have a connection to this university. The juvenile, we're told, waived extradition and is expected back in Baltimore sometime early next week. As for Williams, he is considered armed and dangerous. According to law enforcement, anyone with any information regarding his whereabouts is asked to call police. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
The student accused of taking a gun to Joseph Briscoe Academy were learned will be charged as a minor. According to police, the 15-year-old was involved in an altercation with a staff member. That student left the school saying he would return with the gun. And investigators say the student did return with the loaded gun and was arrested. School officials say he was stopped outside the school and never made it inside with the weapon. He is charged as a minor with assault and having a handgun. Now, it's the second gun seized just this week at a Maryland school in Baltimore County. A 15-year-old student at Sparrows Point High School was arrested Monday for bringing a loaded handgun to school. That teen also charged as a minor.
The area continues to deal with a wave of car thefts. New crime stats posted by city police show more than 8,500 cars have been stolen this year. It's a 229% increase compared to this time last year. Fox 45's Amy Simpson continues our team coverage of the auto theft crisis in the region.
It feels like we've just scratched the surface, only hearing from some of those more than 8,500 car theft victims in the city so far this year. But we're also pushing to learn more about what it's taking for those drivers to get back on the road. It's considered a property crime, but it's a crime with very real impacts.
Well, at first when I found out, I was trying to believe that I had parked somewhere else.
Brazen thieves even caught on camera stealing a car from FOX45's lot in the middle of the night.
I was mad. I'm mad. I'm watching 4 little kids, maybe 15, 16, jump out of a car 1:30 in the morning.
Sometimes stolen cars are taken for a joyride. Sometimes police say they're used to commit other crimes. And sometimes stolen cars are damaged and dumped by thieves, towed and taken to city impound. Last month, those cars were only visible here through the trees from a ramp onto the interstate. But now Fox 45 News has learned hundreds of stolen cars are sitting at the city's main impound lot, located just off Pulaski Highway. According to the city's Department of Transportation, 653 stolen cars were at that Pulaski lot as of September 26th. Today, we asked for more up-to-date data on those stolen cars sitting at impound and what's being done to connect these stolen cars with their owners. A DOT spokesperson responded to say resources are focused on preparing for this weekend's marathon and is unable to accommodate our request. Just yesterday, we asked the city, when can Fox 45 schedule a tour of the impound lot? We'd like to see the impact of the 200+% increase of auto thefts so far this year. But a quick rejection from the city. City tow lots are working lots. We do not facilitate media visits. A DOT spokesperson said.
They said, well, we're not going to release your car unless you pay the 2 speeding tickets.
This Rosedale woman said it took a month for her stolen car to be released from city impound, saying she had to pay off speeding tickets racked up by the criminals.
They shouldn't make me a victim 2 and 3 times. I was a victim once with my car being stolen. I was a victim with the insurance company, and I was a victim with the city of Baltimore.
And another victim spoke of her trip to the impound lot this summer, sharing pictures of her stolen Hyundai after being hot-wired and taken from outside her home in Riverside Park.
In the impound, the Baltimore City impound lot, if you do visit it, you'll notice that there's like sections specifically for Hyundais and Kias that were smashed, and I'm just lucky that my vehicle wasn't one of those.
And week by week, we're tracking this data with more than 8,500 cars stolen in the city of Baltimore between January 1st and October 7th. That's more than 30 cars stolen every day, more than a car stolen every hour in Baltimore City. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
The war in the Middle East is escalating this evening. You're looking at live pictures from Gaza, where Israeli forces have launched a massive ground and air invasion.